All right. Nice. The setup is getting better every time. Trying to make it look nicer, trying to make it sound better. All right, so I'm just waiting for some of you to join me here. Maybe I'll play a little guitar. All right, guys, so thanks for joining. So one thing I get asked about a lot, and I was going to make a video on this, but I thought it would be kind of cool to do a live stream so that you guys can ask questions and we can kind of discuss it a little bit, is endorsement deals and sponsorships and stuff like that. So I find, a lot of people, and especially a lot of musicians, don't really know how they work or know how to go about getting them. So if you're interested in how what the process is like to become an endorsed artist or player, or if you're a musician and you're wanting to get endorsement deals and you're wanting to get sponsorships, I wanted to give a little bit of insight. I have a lot of experience with that stuff, going back many years with all different types of products. If some of you are new to the channel and don't know, I've had my own signature guitar at one point, which is a 7-string guitar. I was endorsed by amp companies and softwares and a bunch of different stuff. So I wanted to kind of share some insight into how that happens. But I wanted to start it off with a story. So I was sharing this story, this funny story last night with a student, and I was going to make a video. Let me close this window so that you guys don't hear a lot of noise here. I was going to make a video sharing this funny story, and I thought that share it on the live stream and tell you guys. So this is going back a number of years, probably 2009. I want to say 2010, and I was fortunate enough at the time to be taken to NAMM, or to be what's the word I'm looking for? Invited to NAMM. And I was invited there to showcase and to perform for various companies and showcase their products, which is why it ties in with our theme today. And so the company that brought me to NAMM was a company that handled artist relations for a number of different companies. So I was there through them for Bugera amps at the time, and also the Overloud company, which was a company that was pretty early into the digital guitar tone softwares, just the amp simulator type softwares. So I did a whole performance there through a laptop, and it sounded, the tone sounded really nice. So I'm at NAMM for Bugera amps, and I'm in this little artist kind of backstage area with a little bit of catering and stuff like that. And the owner of the company comes up to me. I'm about to go perform in 10-15 minutes for the Bugera amps and showcase how they sound and stuff like that. So I'm just kind of hanging backstage and getting ready. And the owner of the company comes over and says, "Jamie, I want you to meet someone." And I turn around, and it's Yngwie Malmsteen. And for those of you who don't know, Yngwie was always a huge influence on me. And I definitely grew up with a lot of his music, and his guitar playing still to this day is so impressive and just is a big inspiration on me. And I love his playing so much. And I think of all the things with Yngwie's playing that kind of gets overlooked, and the thing that I love the most is his passion and intensity that he plays with. A lot of people miss that. They think it's just about speed or flash, but it's really this crazy passionate intensity that he plays with. So I turn around, and it's Yngwie Malmsteen. And the funny story is that uh, I, say, "Oh, Yngwie, I'm a huge fan. Nice to meet you. It's great to meet you." And he's standing there with two huge bodyguards at NAMM of all places. And so I naively, stupidly of me, decide to say to him, knowing Yngwie and knowing his personality and knowing kind of what he's like, I stupidly say to him, "I'm about to perform in like 10 minutes. You should come check it out. You should come see it." And I'm thinking, well, we're both brought to NAMM by the same company. Maybe that gives me a little bit of credibility. Maybe he'll see me a little bit more as a peer instead of just a random person. That's the thinking, at least. And so I say, "Yeah, I'm about to perform in a couple minutes. You should come check it out." And Yngwie just looks at me and just laughs, as if to say, as if I'm going to listen to you play the guitar or watch you play the guitar when I'm Yngwie Malmsteen. And the great thing is not the reaction I was expecting, even though I'm not sure what I expected differently in that situation. But it made me laugh so hard, and I was not offended in the least bit. I thought it was hilarious because it was the most Yngwie response that he could have given, which is not uh, a nice courteous, "Yeah, maybe I'll check that out if I'm in the area," or "Good luck with the performance, I'll see if I can stop by." Nothing like that, but it was just laugh at you, like, as if I'm gonna listen to you play the guitar. Now, just to be clear, I don't think I'm deserving of Yngwie's audience or anything like that. I'm not saying that. It was kind of a naive thing for me to say at the time, and at the time I'm like 19 years old or something like that. I was pretty young, so it was just maybe, not really thinking it through, but it was just a funny moment where it was I now had my own Yngwie story, and that made me so happy because I had heard all these stories of Yngwie and funny things that he says and kind of his ego and everything. And again, I'm a huge fan of Yngwie, so in no way is this a negative thing. It's just a funny story. But I was so happy at the end of that day, just because I was like, I have my own Yngwie story now. I have my own funny story to share about Yngwie. So I thought that would be something fun to share with you guys. And so then we can get into endorsements and how they work. And again, since it's a live stream, the reason I'm doing this as a live stream is you know, ask ask questions and engage in the conversation. I am going to be paying attention to what you guys are saying at the same time and answering questions and stuff like that. So, always feel free to engage. So, with endorsement deals, it's something I get asked a lot about. And as I said earlier, I just find a lot of people have a wrong way of going about it, a backwards way of going about it, and I wanted to kind of share some of my opinions and some of my insights into how it works, how you can raise your chances of getting endorsed or sponsored, and really the best way to look at it. So I find a lot of musicians think, well, I'm really good, I can play really well, and this company should sponsor me. I use such and such guitars, and I'm really good, so they should, give me free stuff. They should give me free guitars, or stuff like that. And that's just really not the way to go about it at all. Um, Endorsement deals, the best way to look at them for sure, and I'll share some stories and experience that I have as well. You have to look at it from the company's perspective, no matter who it is. I'll try not to use like too many names or brands or anything like that, but let's say I'm trying to get endorsed by like Ibanez Guitars, let's say, okay? So I have to look at it from their point of view. And most companies, the majority of the time, what they're interested in, like they are interested in building really quality products that artists like, for sure. But at the end of the day, they're interested at selling product. They're interested in getting their brand out there and having a positive image with their brand, really important, and selling guitars. Ultimately, that's what they're after. So if they would be associated with me in any way, would it help them sell more product? Would it, can I create some value that I can add to them so that they can get their guitars out there? So when they endorse someone like Tim Henson or Steve Vai or someone like that, Yeah, those guys are incredible guitar players, of course, but that's not the only thing they're looking at, because there's a lot of incredible guitar players out there. But if you build Tim Henson a signature guitar, are people going to want to buy that guitar because they're such big fans of him? Yes, of course they will. So that's ultimately why they do that, right? So the thing you have to think about with endorsements is providing value to the company so that you are bringing something to the table. Now, it used to be, 10, 20 years ago, it used to be that the thing they would ask is tour dates, and how many dates are you touring and how often do you perform live. And back then, it was like that was the audience that would see you playing that product, is the people who are coming out to your shows. Now, that's really changed nowadays because most of it, as we are right now, is online on YouTube and TikTok and Instagram and all these social media platforms. That is really nowadays the new audience. And whether you agree with it or disagree with it, or like it or not like it, um, that doesn't really matter. It really is the new audience, because you can go perform at a venue and even perform for 1,000 people and sell a lot of tickets, and have a good crowd there. Or you can post a video on TikTok and get a couple 100,000 views on that, showcasing that guitar. That's more valuable now. And you can have the link to buying it and all that kind of stuff. They know exactly what it is. So it's just, nowadays the audience is very much online, as many of you guys know. So if you can bring value to the table and you can bring them an audience of people that you have a positive um, relationship or a positive image with that brand. So if you are a really great guitar player and you play Ibanez and you already play Ibanez and people know you for playing Ibanez and all that kind of stuff, and then you can say, I have this big audience and they follow me, and they're a lot more likely to want to get associated with you. So it doesn't only come down to talent. That of course is a big part of it, and they want people who can play to be playing their products, and people who are inspiring to watch. But really, at the end of the day, you have to kind of approach it from a business perspective and think, is what I'm bringing to the table going to help them sell more product? So another interesting story is, years ago, going back to 2007, I had won a big guitar competition in the States. And at the time I was 17, I was the youngest to win it ever. And so that alone, I understood, gave me leverage to contact companies and to look for endorsements. And because I'm going to be doing a lot of radio interviews afterwards, I did some television interviews. Um, it's kind of giving me a little bit of a platform. So if I can be associated with certain companies, then that's a plus for them. That's what I'm bringing to the table, is I can mention that I'm an artist of such and such company. So at the time, I started to go around looking for companies to be endorsed by. And at the time, I found this small guitar company in Canada here that were just really kind of getting started. And I thought it would be kind of fun to get in on the ground up with these guys, so that I could really be more hands-on and be involved in the process, which I was. So the cool thing is, since I was mostly a 7-string guitar player, and still am for the most part, which especially at the time, maybe not so much now, but at the time that was a more niche thing. Like, there weren't as many 7-string guitars available in the market to buy, and you either had to spend a lot of money to get the really nice stuff, or you could get the cheap stuff for a few $100, but they weren't really that great. So when I approached this company, they had a wide range of guitars, but one 7-string model, and it was good. It wasn't great. It was good. It was pretty cool. But being a 7-string guitar player, I said to them, well, knowing 7-string guitars, I can design you a guitar. I can build you a guitar. Not build, I can design a guitar. Definitely can't build it. That I think 7-string guitar players would like, and they would appreciate certain things and features, and also at a good price point. So as I said earlier, there were guitars for a couple $1,000s, and then there were the guitars for a couple $100. So we designed a 7-string guitar that was $900 Canadian. And that was the idea, is to have a good quality 7-string guitar with good pickups and everything for an affordable price, or a mid-range price, I should say. So that was my idea, and that's what I brought to them. And then we did it, and we made it a signature guitar where it was called the JR7. And we made a couple dozen of them just because it was a small guitar company that sold locally in Canada. And we ended up selling all of them. We sold out of all the guitars, and it was made in a couple different colors. And it was really a great process. And it was so cool to be able to sit down with like the manufacturer and the factory and say, and kind of pick and choose and custom design. And it was really, really cool. A great guitar. I was very happy with it, and used it and performed with it, and all that kind of stuff. So the funny thing is, at that time in that guitar company, they had a number of different artists who were endorsed by them, and some incredible players and great bands and all this kind of stuff. But I remember afterwards, some of the other players were upset with that I got a signature model and no one else had a signature model with the guitar company. And this is something I tell my students very often with opportunities and goals and things that you're trying to go after. You can't be afraid to ask. That's really all it is sometimes. None of the other players who were endorsed by this company asked for a signature model. It was never brought up. I was the only one who asked, right? And again, I am bringing an idea to the table that I think is valuable, and I think it's going to help create an interesting product that would, be good for the market and stuff like that. So it goes to show sometimes, whether it's students of mine who are applying to schools that they're really after, and they think, oh, maybe, maybe I don't have a chance. It's like, just ask. The worst thing is that they say no. And at the end of the day, you're right where you started. It makes no difference. Just ask. Or if it's a person you're interested in asking out or something like that, just ask. Don't be afraid to ask, right? So the worst case scenario is they could have just said, no, we're not interested in building a 7-string guitar signature thing. And that would have been totally fine. No hard feelings. And either play their other guitars or look for someone who is kind of interested in that project, right? So it's an interesting, all this talking. It's an interesting concept that I find a lot of people are afraid to do, and that's just simply ask for the things that you're after. Obviously not in any sort of arrogant way where you think you deserve it and it should be given to you, but it's always worth asking. So the cool thing is, nowadays, the sponsorships and endorsements are kind of happening for me in a different way now than they used to. Now, especially through TikTok, I get a lot of companies reaching out, willing to send me product if I do a little short TikTok with it. And I've turned down a lot just because I'm pretty picky with the product, and I definitely would never want to endorse or try to sell something that I am not a fan of. I wouldn't want to do that. So if you've seen the Lava guitar that I use, and the Donner guitars, who I have a ongoing kind of sponsorship with now, in case you guys don't know, I'm giving away a free guitar at the end of the month to celebrate the 1-year anniversary of becoming a content creator. So the video, I'll put it in the description afterwards. But the video is on my channel, and it gives you all the detail of how to enter the contest. And we have had quite a few entries, like over 100 entries, which is really cool. So definitely enter and check out that video for more details. But yeah, the Donner guitars and the Black Star amp, which I have here, that I was using in a couple of videos the other day. This little guy here, the Fly 3, it's called. And again, these are all products that have really been amazing. Like they really, really are. Like they'll I'm just, a little 3-watt amp. I'm not really expecting the best sounding amp, and yet this thing's awesome. I use it all the time now. So it's, the sponsorship world has kind of changed, I find, with the online social media stuff, but it's very much the same process, and it's the same way of going about it, and it's the same sort of thing that you have to bring to the table. So if you are a musician who's looking at getting endorsed, or you're just trying to improve your chances of that happening, try to think of it from their point of view, and what are you bringing to the table for them. Excuse me. I'll tell you this, if you have a large audience, or if you're able to build up a following on TikTok or something like that, and you can create like compelling content, you won't really have to go searching for endorsements. They'll probably be reaching out to you, right? Which would be a wonderful thing, because that also gives you a little bit more leverage in the negotiation, where you can ask for a little bit more, or be a little picky with who it is you want to be associated with, right? So hopefully this has been a little helpful. I always like sharing stuff I've learned over the years and my experiences and stuff. And this is stuff that I would share with students when they ask about this stuff, but I thought it would be fun to kind of jump on here and talk with you guys about it, and just share some stories, and what works and what doesn't, and all that kind of stuff. So again, don't be afraid to ask. Going back a number of years, again, in 2009, I was lucky enough. This is actually a perfect story as well. I promise I won't make this too many. But at the time, I was lucky enough. Okay, so when I won that guitar competition, sorry, I have a distracted train of thought here. When I won that guitar competition, I was the youngest winner in its history. I was 17 years old. One of the judges for the competition was the head of the guitar department from Musicians Institute in Los Angeles. And it is a renowned school. It's basically like the West Coast Berkeley. It's like those two schools in the States. And being 17, I was just graduating high school. It had always been a dream of mine to go to Musicians Institute, with so many of my favorite players having gone there, including Paul Gilbert and everyone. And obviously also in the scene of Los Angeles, it's such a hub for opportunity. So many gigs are coming through there. So many auditions are coming through there, that there's tremendous value at going to that university or college, when you have all this opportunity that you probably wouldn't have at too many other schools. I know here in Toronto, you just would not have those same opportunities coming through as you would in Los Angeles. So long story short, I win this guitar competition. One of the judges is the head of the guitar department at that time. And again, going back to my idea of just don't be afraid to ask. I asked the head of the guitar department before the competition, by the way. I asked, what do you guys do for scholarships? I'm just graduating high school. What do you guys do for scholarships? And she very clearly said to me, we don't do scholarships. And I was just like, all right, good to know. Again, doesn't hurt to ask, right? So I'm right where I started. No hard feelings. Awesome. But it's worth asking, right? So then I go up and perform the next night. And by the way, the celebrity judge for this competition was John 5. So whoever wins this guitar competition gets to go on stage and jam with John 5, who was always like one of my favorite guitar players. So I end up winning this thing somehow. And I get up on stage afterwards, and I'm jamming with John 5. And it's just like the experience of a lifetime. It's absolutely incredible. So then we're at the after party afterwards, and it's just, and again, I'm 17, and this is in the States. So, no drinking, of course, no drinking, but just like, I'm this kid in this place. And the head of the guitar department comes up to me afterwards and says, we might be able to offer you a full scholarship to the school. And I'm like blown away. And I say, of course, if that's there, if that opportunity is there, I'll be there, right? And at the end of the day, that's what they did. And I was apparently I was told I was the first person to get a full scholarship to Musicians Institute. I didn't have to pay $1 to go. I just had to pay a lot of money to live in Los Angeles, which wasn't easy at that age. So again, if I didn't ask originally, that probably would have never come up. They probably wouldn't have even considered that idea of, hey, let's bring them out to the school. And so again, don't be afraid to ask. So then while I'm at the school, they had this art or student services uh, department building where it was this, out of the school, it was a separate building where they just dealt with all the opportunities coming through. You could go in every single day and they would tell you what auditions are coming through and who's looking for guitar players, or not just guitar players, all musicians and engineers and all that kind of stuff. So I would be in there like every single day looking for opportunities. And a gig comes through to produce music for TV shows. And it's even a little vague in the description, like you're not exactly sure what it is, but it's an audition, so I go to it. Now, just to be clear, at this time, when I think I was like 18 at the time now, I had zero experience with producing music at that level. Maybe little demos in my bedroom. That's the extent of what it was. So zero experience. But again, it's an audition. It doesn't hurt to ask. Let's go to it and see what happens. Now, what's funny is no one else went. I don't know if no one else went, but like barely anyone went to this audition. And maybe it was because of the vague description. I don't know. But no one really went. So I went and talked to them. And coincidentally, they were looking for hard rock music for a new show they were doing, which featured Jesse James at the time, the guy who builds custom motorcycles. He was married to Sandra Bullock, and he had his TV show, Jesse James is a Dead Man, and they needed all this hard rock music. And I was like, well, I can do that. That's my thing. Like, it's basically the one thing I can do at the time. So I ended up getting the gig, and they would just send me an email, and they would say, we need something Metallica-ish for this show. So then I would just put together a track. And with this job, you had to do it really, really quick. So like they would email you, one night, and it's like tomorrow morning they need the track done. So you had to work really fast. But yeah, so they would ask for certain tracks, and I would be able to, write something Metallica-ish or Foo Fighters-ish, or stuff like that. And sometimes they would ask for stuff that you don't even know what they're talking about, just because they're not musicians. So they use words that you're like, I'm not even sure what that means. So then you just write tracks and then you send it in, and they're like, yeah, kind of, or not so much, try something different. But again, so that gig, I had zero experience with that, zero experience. And it didn't hurt to go and check it out and see what it was. And it was really, really cool because it was based on the Paramount Pictures lot in LA. So it's like, it's very much like feeling like you're in Los Angeles and the movie and TV studios and all that stuff. It was really, really cool. You get to see different shows being filmed and stuff. And it just comes back to, again, just not being afraid to ask for different opportunities. Because do I think I deserved that gig? Not at all. Do I think I was the right person for that job? Not in the least. And what's funny is I had a friend who was still living up here in Toronto, who that was his specialty. He wrote music for film and TV project, and he was way better of a composer than I was, even better guitar player than I was at the time. Like, I was so talented. And I emailed him the job, and I said, you got to apply for this. This is what you're looking to get into. Just email them. And he basically emailed me a bunch of excuses as to why, oh, it's in LA, I'm up here, it's not going to work, or I don't know what kind of shows they are, or just all these kind of excuses as to why he didn't think it was the gig for him. And he could have easily gotten the job and be much more qualified at it than I was. But it's the difference between, putting things off or not asking for them instead of just going and asking and see what happens. So yeah, you'd be surprised how much good can come out of it when you're not afraid to ask for things. Obviously, you want to, work hard and deliver your best and try to, do as much as you can for them, clearly. But just don't be afraid to ask for stuff. So whether it's endorsement deals or gigs or going to school or asking a person out or something like that, just don't be afraid to ask. Go for it. And, life is short, and don't waste opportunities. So I thought I would share that today. I wanted to jump on here because last week I jumped on here a little bit before teaching, and I didn't have too much of a chance to talk with you guys or answer questions and stuff like that. So before we're done, let's get into some questions. I want to talk to you guys and see what you're up to. What's that black guitar you use with a green shell? I assume you're talking about this one. This is one of my favorites, I would say. This is an old Ibanez RG 550. I believe it's 1991. You can tell by their serial numbers. 1991, so yeah, 31 years old or something like that. Am I right? What year is it? Yeah. So the guitar is quite old, and it definitely has some dings and all that kind of stuff, as you can see. But for a guitar that kind of expect it. But I bought this used for like $500 Canadian too, and which is a steal for this guitar. And then I put DiMarzio deactivator pickups in it, which I absolutely love. And I did a demo video for those years ago, like over 10 years ago now, which did quite well. So you could check out that video. But I do use it a lot in a lot of my videos. And I always get asked about the custom pickguard, but I bought it that way, and I have no idea where the person got it from, but it looks super cool. It's kind of reflective, as you can see. You can see the camera there. And yeah, it has such a cool kind of unique look that a lot of people kind of recognize my videos or my content because they see this guitar now. So definitely a guitar I'll never get rid of. I love this guitar, and any old Ibanez stuff I'm always on the lookout for, because it's just such great craftsmanship that you can find used for fairly good prices nowadays. What is my dream guitar? I've thought about that recently, and it's tough because I like such a combination of things that now if I were to build a signature guitar or design my own custom guitar, I think it would be really cool to do something that has elements of traditional guitar and like a modern kind of, high performance guitar. So I was actually thinking about this the other day, because it's always fun to think about that, of course, what you would do if you could build your dream guitar. It'd be cool to do something with like an RG style body, but maybe kind of like round it off a little bit so it's not as aggressive looking. Maybe give it like a top to it, like a maple top, so it has a little bit of contour to the body. Still have some great humbuckers in there, or maybe like a really nice single coil in the neck. And then it would be great to do like a nice, binding on the neck with like block inlays, almost like a Les Paul type idea, if that makes sense. And it would just be really cool to combine those elements. So I was thinking about that the other day, and even down to like the fretboard radius and just what kind of frets you would use, all that kind of stuff. Oh, I think this is out of tune from the other day, but yeah, it would be really cool to do that again and design a updated version, basically. Thanks, guys. I appreciate you enjoying the content. I definitely appreciate that. Do I still have a JR7? The funny thing is I do. This right here, a lot of people ask what this is. This is the prototype. So this was the 7-string that they had at the time. And then as you can see, we went to town on this thing, shaving down the neck and shaving down the neck joint and doing all this crazy stuff to experiment with it. We threw in some Duncans, just because at the time I wasn't associated with DiMarzio yet. And it's a cool guitar. I still use it for videos. Right now it's in drop A, if you can hear that. Or at least close to drop A. I think it's a little out of tune here. So I do have the finished product of the JR7. I just don't have it here, unfortunately. I have it stored at my parents' house right now just for space. But I should, now that I got my nice guitar rack, I should go get it and keep one here. Have I tried scallop necks? I think I've tried one. It must have been the Yngwie Malmsteen model, of course, because there's not too many other players I know associated with it. I think I have tried one like years ago, and it actually is really cool. Like it's a lot more comfortable than you may think at first. And for those of you who don't know, scallop necks, the each fret, the wood is technically like carved out to the fret. So when you push the string down, you really only feel the string hitting the actual metal fret instead of the wood. So under your finger, you don't really feel the wood, which at first is a little strange, but especially when it comes to bends, it's just so smooth and effortless because you don't have that friction against the wood. So it's pretty neat to play with. And the Ibanez Gem, the Steve Vai guitar, he scallops the last 4 frets on those guitars, which I think is pretty smart because up there in those tiny frets, it gives you a lot more grip to use. And sometimes it's easy to, lose the string a little bit. So yeah, scallop frets are pretty neat. You don't see them too often, but they are pretty cool. Do I have a go-to riff to play every day for whatever reason? My go-to thing to do when I pick up the guitar is to improvise. That's what I love to do, is just pick up the guitar and just start. Yeah, apparently none of my guitars are in tune right now, but yeah, not quite. But that is my favorite thing to do, is to just pick up the guitar and improvise. But I don't know if I have like a favorite riff to play. I don't think so. And I like having different challenges. Like the other night, I was playing around uh, with something to work on my picking, which I was going to post maybe a video of a great picking exercise or something like that, which I'm not warmed up playing wise right now. But I don't know if you guys recognize that. Or, again, not very warmed up, but playing around with that. Yeah, it's extra hard on the acoustic, of course, but apparently I don't have a single guitar in tune today. All right, this is a great question. What should guitar players do to create their own styles rather than mirroring their idols? Now, I do think it's a combination of two things. I think one thing is creating a little bit of a melting pot of your idols. So if you're taking a little bit of influence, which I think everyone would naturally do no matter what, if you take some influence from various idols, then in a way you're going to create somewhat more of your own style with that. So, if I'm taking some influence from Jimmy Page, Eddie Van Halen, Guthrie Govan, John Petrucci, these are all like really different guitar players. The combination of those guys is going to sound quite unique, right? Now, obviously, you don't only want to do that. It's really, really important, and this is the harder part of it. Is it's really important to discover your own expression on the instrument. So that's really what it's all about. Is the guitar is just a tool for expression, and what you do with it is really all that matters. So whether you are someone who's very technical and knows a lot of theory and knows the music inside and out, great, that can be super cool. If you're not, if you're a guitar player more like Kurt Cobain or someone, which no disrespect to him, but just like I don't think he would consider himself a very sophisticated guitar player, but what he does with the guitar is just as good, and really, really great expression with the way he plays the guitar. So you have to be kind of fearless as well, in the sense of just doing things your own way. Doesn't matter if other people do it differently, or even if some people look at how you do things as wrong. I don't think there is such thing as wrong on the guitar. If you wanted to make a song with one note the whole time, there's nothing wrong with that. It's just how you do it and how you express it. So just be true to yourself that way, and try to discover how it is you use the guitar to express you. Because if you don't really want to sound like anyone else, that's the ultimate thing that is going to be unique to you, that no one else can do, which is sound like you. So I find with my own playing, that can be a struggle sometimes. I want to see if I can sound like so and so, or play as good as someone else. And from a technique perspective, it's good, of course, but from a sound perspective, I don't really want to sound like those guys, if that makes sense. I want to sound more like me. But it's really hard to do. It's very hard to do. And that's why very few guitar players have a real signature sound. For example, when you hear Eddie Van Halen, the first few notes, it's him, just the way he's playing. And many other guitar players where you can hear their sound, right? When you hear Stevie Ray Vaughan play a few notes, you're like, oh, that's Stevie Ray Vaughan. I know that. All right, guys. So hopefully you found some of the information today helpful. And if you are a musician looking for getting into endorsements, or trying to increase your chances with getting them, then hopefully it's been helpful, and you get a little bit of insight. If you like these types of live streams where I kind of share ideas, or I talk about certain topics a little bit more, let me know in the comments, and I'm always happy to share and give any advice or answer questions and all that kind of stuff. I like jumping on here and talking with you guys. So thanks for joining today, and thanks for the constant support. I really appreciate it. You guys are the best. So you guys have a wonderful day.